Once again, the Houston Astros, after we were feeling so good yesterday, Josh Hader comes in, down 1 run in the 9th inning, and Paul and Sean, he was just a disaster. Josh Hader, this guy is making $95 million over the next 5 years. And for me, it's too early to be like, this is going to be a Rafael Montero, but a lefty. But Josh Hader, this is not what you paid this guy for. And there's not even a guarantee that you win this game, obviously. It's not like it was a closed situation or a save situation. But what a letdown performance, again, from Josh Hader, who has been wildly inconsistent to start the season.
Spin zone. Josh Hader is making the Rafael Montero deal look a whole lot better.
Rafael Montero's been good this year.
How about new money Montero going almost 40 pitches and actually holding things down against the Atlanta Braves? What's crazy about yesterday is, yes, the Astros offense didn't show up again. But to what you were saying about Josh Hader, legitimately every other Astros pitcher, I guess Brandon Bielak didn't really, did what they were supposed to against arguably the best lineup in baseball. And then Josh Hader comes in there with his now 9+ ERA, allowing a run in 4 of his 9 outings thus far. And I know some people are going to say, well, he was in a non-save situation.
I don't care.
Who effing cares? Get outs. How much of an obsessive compulsive person does a pitcher have to be to not get outs because it's not a save situation? It should not be this difficult. And that's legitimately the only explanation that I have for this, Joe. Yesterday we talked about how Josh Hader in 1 year is making about what Hector Neris, Phil Maton, and
Ryan Stanek
would make this season. And yet, he's not as good as any of them right now.
Well, Phil Maton got rocked yesterday. He got 5 earned runs and lost, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough. Like the idea that Joe Espada should not have gone to Josh Hader in that situation because it's not a save situation.
Oh yeah, people are mad at Espada over this.
Wrong. You're wrong.
You got to go to Hader.
He's making $95 million over the next 5 years. Get 3 outs. Are you guys telling me that in Game 7 of the World Series and you're down by 1 run, you don't want Josh Hader on the mound?
Well, it depends on if he pitched the night before, Joe.
Oh, he got 1 out. He got 1 out. I know he warmed up, and he got 1 out. And I guess you could have used Presley in that situation, who also, for the record, who everyone's calling for Ryan Presley, was never good in these situations either. It was the same thing. These closers are weird creatures. I don't understand it. It is the same game. It is the same amount of outs. Yep. It is the same goal. Get 3 outs. Whether you strike out, pop out, ground out. Get him out. Josh Hader couldn't do it. And he just, last night, I have no words, honestly, it feels like, because it looks like another one of these awful committee contracts. I'm no longer going to say Jeff Bagwell contracts because Reggie Jackson made that very clear. It's not just Jeff Bagwell. But Crane, Bagwell, Biggio, because you get thrown in this too now because of Reggie Jackson, bad contracts, it looks like. It's early on that one for him, but this is not what you expected from Josh Hader when you signed him.
Definitely not. He has sucked. He sucked. And, I mean, it was a night last night where other Astros did their jobs, and it was actually a good game until Josh Hader came in. Obviously, the Astros bats, I don't know what to say. I mean, Yordan Alvarez had a couple of situations where grounded into a double play. He pops out with a couple of runners on, but they couldn't get a runner past second base from, I think, the first inning on. Not good. You want to score runs. The runners in scoring position struggles were back. The left on base struggles were back. But I think it is fair to focus on Hader because this has been a reoccurring problem. His ERA is 9+. Is he going to turn it around? You hope so. But no amount of Jeff Bagwell propaganda, Dana Brown propaganda is going to make me feel good right now because of what he is making. This is a guy that you are paying enough to be pitching, honestly, every single night.
Yeah, I hate the pitching nonsense we always hear after the game. Joe Espada talked about how his stuff is good. He's just missing his spots. Well, find your spots, dude. You're too good to be this erratic in this moment, and it just and like Junior Bronco and the Twitch here is fairly pointed out. I don't think they would have scored anyways. You're probably right. Like they probably wouldn't have scored. And they probably would have lost anyways because obviously they didn't score in the ninth, down by 5. They probably weren't going to get one more run.
I don't know. You get to extra innings. All you got to do is get one hit. It is definitely beneficial to the home team in that situation, especially considering they couldn't get runners to even second. It was hard for them to get there.
Yeah.
I know they had lots of situations where runners were in scoring position. I think it was 7. They were 1 for 7, I believe. But if it gets to extra innings, you have a chance. Offense didn't show up, but Hader just basically threw it away.
Yeah.
There was never a chance. Did anyone think that they were going to score on a night like last night, that after Josh Hader gave up those 4 hits in a row? No. And then on top of that, Bielak just beat down his pants.
So in 5 outings this year, Josh Hader, he had that first game where he showed up, and he gave up the walk-off he gave 1 run to the Rangers. They won that game. These are his last 5 outings. But there's a trend I'm noticing. When he walks guys, it doesn't go well. Now, that might sound simplistic, but there are a lot of pitchers we see in baseball. We talked about Blake Snell for how long when we were hoping the Astros were going to sign him. He walks a lot of guys and he finds a way to control the damage. But last night, like when Hader walks with that first batter, I don't know, it's not Fromber-ish where it's like things unravel, but he definitely looks way more uncomfortable than I guess I realized with runners on base. Because when there's no one out there, he seems to just look much looser in the moment. But it unraveled so quickly for him last night, and it's just not what you did. And I can't place any of this blame on Joe Espada.
I think you're spending too much time on Astros Twitter, though. I think you're spending too much time on that.
I don't think so.
I mean, I don't see many people outside of that are going to Joe Espada who know a thing that are blaming things on Espada. I think that right now some people are finding him to be a convenient scapegoat. I think others are screwing around. But I feel like the people that are doing that are idiots. It's not their fault. To what Jeff Bagwell was saying in his propaganda speech that he had on Friday before the Astros completely blew it, hey, players play, pitchers pitch. Those guys are supposed to take care of their jobs. The idea that putting Josh Hader in the 9th inning is an issue is crazy to me. You're paying him enough to, again, pitch every single night. $95 million, pitch every night. Pitch 4 nights a week.
Yeah, I know that they've used him a lot. I hear that argument, but to what Joe Espada was saying last night after the game, too, is one of the challenges that the Astros are facing is kind of what are their options at this point. I mean, this bullpen is taxed. So maybe in a perfect world, you don't want to use Josh Hader in that situation. I guess I'm with you. Like, that's what he's there for, is to try to help you win the game.
He's your best reliever.
Yeah, like you're paying him that way. He is statistically over his career. He's by far your best reliever.
Has the best stuff.
He's got to get the outs. But you're hurting at times from the rotation still being so poor, last week, is like your bullpen's taxed. So in that moment, you kind of have to go to Josh Hader.
I'm with you there. But here's the other thing on top of that. Okay, the taxed bullpen has done a decent job the last couple of outings. They've done a decent job. Now, obviously, things have hit the fan in a couple of situations. But look, you have a guy that is making that much money, and it is his, I think, responsibility to pick up some of the workload because of the relievers you no longer have and the starting pitchers you no longer have. This is why you gave him that contract, right? So he's got to continue to go out there, and he's just got to pull his head out of wherever the hell it is.
Yeah, my biggest issue with last night with using him, though, I will say, is that because it was a non-save situation, he's going to be down today, and you might want him today in your bullpen. I know that's being optimistic that you're going to have a chance to win today's game. And look, like they're saying here on the text line on the Twitch, just like win the next 2 games and it doesn't matter. You're right. But it's not, but this isn't just one game with Josh Hader. There's multiple instances this season where you've asked him to do something like this and he's just been unable to. And you're paying this guy too much money to not consistently come through for you. I don't think it's going to be a bad contract over time, at least over the first 2 years, but
I hope it's not going to be a bad contract over time. 5-year contract, it is probably going to be bad at some point.
Sure. That's very fair. I mean, it's a long contract.
He's a reliever. Relievers are finicky year to year. You can't predict guaranteed success for the majority of relievers not named Mariano Rivera.
Yeah. Blame is on the players. That's where, to me, the biggest part of yesterday's game is, and it's on Josh Hader, but it's also on the lineup. Like you mentioned, it is the same old stuff. I think you're 0 for 18 from guys like Yordan Alvarez, Jose Abreu, Chas McCormick. I can't remember who else, but you just the linup's the lineup. Like that's one thing where Josh Hader, it is a different flavor of the day of what's going wrong with the Astros. The rest of the lineup, it's just frustrating. That's all they are at this point. I don't know how long we can just constantly complain about the Astros not coming through on a consistent basis, because it just might be their story in 2024. You hope at some point they figure it out and they're more consistent, but this is a good Atlanta Braves team. They had you figured out well yesterday. At least Alex Bregman was good. Bregman,
2 hits. Jose Altuve, 3 hits, and no one got past second base.
Yeah, it is just one of those games for the Houston Astros, and yeah, they win the next 2 games versus the Atlanta Braves, then everything will feel much better. But Josh Hader just not good in last night's performance. From the 832, pitching coach has to go. I said it before the year started. No one has gotten better. Everyone got worse. You know what? I don't know nothing about pitching coaches, but yes, I agree. I have nothing to base that off of besides what my eyeballs tell me. And all I know is that since Brent Strom left, the Astros pitching has gotten way worse. Now, look, we were spoiled. Best ERA of all time in that World Series run that they had in 22. So it's impossible to live up to that standard. But from Abreu to what we've seen from Presley, immediately from Hader, even though he's a little bit different because he wasn't on the team, Montero with Strom, without Strom, I think I'm in. I think I'm in on this.
I'm out. I'm tired of everyone making excuses for all the players. I really am. The pitchers are sucking. It's the coach's fault. Is the coach supposed to hold his arm in the right spot and make sure that it's the correct motion? Like he's one of those creepy golf coaches that's going to get a little handsy with you, you know? I mean, can we stop?
Why? What's the difference?
It's the catcher's fault. It's the pitching coach's fault. How about the pitchers stop sucking?
But that's how it always works. The pitchers are bad, and then you replace the coach and you try to make them better.
Right. So they're fall guys. I think it's strange that in baseball of all sports that we continuously look at other reasons for struggles when the guys are just supposed to execute out there.
No, that I agree with. Like they are, but they're clearly not. So at some point, like something has to change. You have to make changes when things aren't going well. And to be honest, nothing they've done has worked. Whatever they've tried, the inconsistencies we've seen with Christian Javier, with Hunter Brown, like Framber Valdez, they're just running the same thing out time and time again. Maybe a new voice in the room is needed. I mean, it is worse.
So what's he going to tell them to do?
I don't know.
Stop sucking?
Tell them why they're sucking?
But is there anything that's being picked up? I mean, wouldn't you think that the broadcast would be highlighting some of whatever issues these pitchers are going through?
Sure.
I don't know if it's as simple as you look at film and there's something that's not going on. And we talked about it yesterday. Michael Schwab and some of the other Astros Twitter mafia were perhaps saying, pointing to Yainer Diaz perhaps being a part of this. Sure, but ultimately, I just think this is at the feet of the pitcher. I don't know that another coach, Joe, as good as Brent Strom is going to come in here and make the Astros, all of their pitchers, pitch to the 99th percentile of their ability.
Now, that I totally agree with you, Paul. Like, I agree that a new pitching coach might not just solve all these problems, but because of some of the decisions that this front office and ownership group has made with your roster, clearly adding other arms to the bullpen is something that's going to be challenging. Like they're not able to, or they chose not to go in and replace 200 innings this offseason. They chose to do it with one guy. So if things are not going to be better, yes, there is going to be a fall guy. Now, and 90% of coaches are fall guys, right? Like Lovie Smith and David Culley are the exceptions to the rule of why a coach is fired. 99% of the time, if it is more than 90, it's the player's fault. It's always the player's fault in any sport. But someone has to get the blame. And as much as I would love for the players to get all of it, well, Rafael Montero's contract is going nowhere. Now, he's been pretty good so far this season, so he's almost a spitty in the face of my own argument here at this point. But something's got to change, and I would like to see if it continues this way through the season. I'm not talking about change now, but if this season is this roller coaster and frustration with the bullpen and the pitching, and it doesn't get better, it's probably time for a new voice in the room.
Hiring a new coach could work. Hiring a new coach could make it worse.
Sure.
I think that's one of the things we always expect when you are replacing one coach with another, that the next guy is going to definitively be better. But, I mean, there might just be no reaching these guys and telling them to, I don't know, stop, again, sucking, because they're sucking. And they should stop that because it's bad. It's bad when you give up runs. It's bad when you give up 4 straight singles and you're paid $95 million to come into a game and be the person that is taking care of everything for your bullpen. It's bad. Bad. I don't think that the fall guy is going to do anything, though.
That's
I don't.
Fair.
And I think that the way that we're looking at it right now, or that some are looking at it right now, they're not being patient like you are here, Joe. They are saying, make it happen right now.
They want, fire Espada, fire, Dana Brown. I'm sure some of these are sarcastic texts that we're getting, but also the frustration is real with those two guys, and it's real with the pitching coaches, because we all know you can't replace players like that. I would love to. Like these guys who are just sucking, I would love to just tell them to stop sucking. I wish it was that simple.
Can we treat them like I treat my cat? Can we get out a squirt bottle? Bad! That's a bad aria! You're bad! And then just clap really loudly at him. The cat has no idea anyway, because cats are little sociopaths. It sometimes works with dogs. Are we suggesting shock collar treatment or something like that? I don't know. All I know is that people, when it comes to baseball, very much overestimate the impact of a coach on the actual output of a player. It is up to that person to do their job, and I get it. There are cold stretches over the course of a season, but Josh Hader is being paid to never have them, and Josh Hader, to this point, has never had them. Mm-hmm. Is this moving from the National League to the American League? Well, guess what? You're going up against another National League team. I don't know where to point at, so I'm just going to point it at all of the players. Hitters, hit when guys are on base, when guys are in scoring position. Pitchers, pitch well. And what's most frustrating about last night is I was expecting absolute rock bottom from Spencer Arrighetti. And Arrighetti had a great game.
Yeah, it was a little bumpy there, but it was impressive that they started warming up someone in the second inning. But he got out of it, and then he was good. That was refreshing to see Spencer Arrighetti yesterday. I would say it was the most positive besides Alex Bregman in yesterday's game. That Spencer Arrighetti, like he said himself,
and Altuve,
yes, he's so good. It's just like he's
an 400.
He's an automatic.
Did you see what he did? He did something cool. Okay, I know a lot of people are focusing on the negative, but Jose Altuve has surpassed 50 career lowercase b WAR. So how about that, bitch? How about that? Yeah. I mean, the sky's falling. The Astros are 6-12, which is kind of embarrassing, but Jose Altuve's B WAR.
Do you think you could explain B WAR better than Jeff Bagwell the other day could explain WOBA or whatever it was? Because that was my favorite moment from Jeff Bagwell this weekend.
Jeff Bagwell and I disagree on a lot of things, like roster construction and paying people like Rafael Montero money, but we will do the Arnold Schwarzenegger, R.I.P. Carl Weathers handshake from Predator over those advanced stats. Lame. Don't want to know what they are. Don't care. And anyone who's trying to shove them into my ear holes, I'm just going to tune them out.
Now, Altuve also did something very cool yesterday. This is it's hard to talk about just besides describe
it. B-War, baby.
There was this video before the game, just this kid from Caracas who lives in Houston now with Jose Altuve. I love the way Jose Altuve is with fans. He called over Jeremy Pena to give this kid an autograph. We are spoiled to have a player like Jose Altuve on this roster in this city. Like he's everything you ever want in an athlete. Like him and JJ Watt are on this level now, except for Jose Altuve's a champion, unlike JJ Watt. Sorry, JJ. But like it's true.
Complete drive-by.
I couldn't resist. I sometimes
he's a champion where it matters in the hearts.
That's true.
Of the people of Houston.
Yeah, but Spencer Rodriguez was very good yesterday. Like it was a very positive thing. Now it might be his last appearance with the Astros because they are. It might be. I mean, we had this discussion yesterday of if he could be good enough to push out Hunter Brown. I'm guessing. This isn't a fact. We don't know this.
Tell me what you're saying, because you told me this going into the show, and I thought to myself, man, this roster is being managed
wildly.
In a very bizarre way. Best case scenario.
So what I think is going to happen here is Forrest Whitley's coming up today. That we know for a fact. My guess is Spencer Arrighetti is going to be sent down because Justin Verlander is going to start likely on Saturday. And then I would guess after that, then it becomes like Taylor Scott or someone gets sent down and Forrest Whitley stays up, because I don't know if they can send Forrest Whitley down ever without DFAing him.
What if Hunter Brown in 12 hours gives up, I don't know, 7 runs in the first 2 innings? Like,
you're onto something. You're onto something.
Yeah, Hunter Brown shouldn't be a made man. Yeah, I'm with Sean here. Is Hunter Brown a made man?
No,
because he pitches like Justin Verlander, and everyone for whatever reason thinks he's really good.
You get your first. We're talking about a guy who really had the first, not even quality start, because he only went 4 innings, but the first decent start from an Astros pitcher not named Christian Javier, Ronel Blanco, or half of the Framber Valdez ones.
Yep.
You get the first decent one.
I'm
halfway
team
decent
Spencer
one,
Arrighetti.
and it's like, send him down. Gotta make room on the roster for Forrest Whitley and Hunter Brown.
I would not do that. I would see how tonight goes. And then if Hunter Brown is a disaster,
is JP France out of options?
Probably not.
Not in life, just in baseball.
It's a good question. I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question.
Paul. Yes, Paul.
Is Forrest Whitley real?
It's taken 8 years, but apparently.
I'm pretty sure that he still has some call downs, because I'm pretty sure
he never got called up.
He's never been called up.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how that works, but I mean, I know he's been in the minors for 34 years, but I'm pretty sure his clock hasn't started.
Yeah.
And the Astros can manipulate that clock still too. They can have Forrest Whitley when he's in his 50s. If they play their cards right.
It's true.
That's the greatest Sugarland Space Cowboy ever.
He's such a 97.
How many unbreakable Astros minor league system records do you think that Forrest Whitley has because he played for 25 years like Tom Brady?
That's a good question.
Not that many.
7 championships?
Oh, yeah. You know what?
He barely pitched.
I'm forgetting he pitches 33% of all these seasons.
Like, he doesn't have any records in the minors.
He has been suspended, so, character guy.
Like Tom Brady.
This is somebody this is like the Chiefs bringing in, not a bad character guy. Astros bringing in a bad character guy to really shake up the clubhouse.
Hey, what do we say?
Doing some drugs?
If you ain't cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. With Forrest Whitley, could the Astros clubhouse withstand a bad influence like him, who got popped for...
Wasn't it like Adderall?
Sounded like he was doing Adderall, and I think his excuse was, I was trying to stay awake.
Yeah, it was a long drive. I was trying to stay awake.
Look, man, you're on a bus ride in the minors. I get it.
I think he was driving.
Yeah, I think it was during an off season, I want to say.
King and Switch says, I feel bad for the Whitley family. They're about to get crushed by Joe George Radio. No, he's not Blair Henley.
I didn't say his name.
Well, I mean, we hope he's not Blair Henley, but it could always be worse.
Well,
wait, time out. Can you?
I mean,
he can be a little bit worse.
We had a week of so many bad starts that I feel like the Blair Henley start wasn't that bad.
Hunter Brown might have been worse.
Hunter Brown was worse than Blair Henley. With Blair Henley, I knew we were screwed. With Hunter Brown, I mean, you at least are hoping for 5 runs allowed over 4 innings.
I'm not surprised, but I am just blown away every time Hunter Brown takes the mound and gets rocked. It's not surprising, but it's just wow, still doing this, huh?
Yeah, well,
one silver lining though, Chandler Rome said that Forrest Whitley is going to be used in relief, so it's unfair to compare him to
That's true.
these starters.
So I mean, 8 years in the making. The amount of you can't trade this guy for X player because he's going to be a superstar for your team. And in 2024, after being drafted in 2016, he's finally going to come up as a relief pitcher.
All those guys
Holy
that
cow.
he couldn't be traded for are probably retired now.
Is Forrest Whitley a top 100 prospect?
No. He is-
Well, you'd think like with him being this old that he would
Well, wasn't
be
he like,
thought to be better.
No.
wasn't
it
he like
works
the
the
number
opposite
one
way.
prospect at one point?
It works I think top pitching prospect.
Yeah. So like he was at the top at one point.
But at a certain point, if you're in the minors for so long, it becomes why hasn't this guy got called up yet? It's a little bit like a 6-year senior. And when you see a 6-year senior in March Madness, you're like, I know he's balling out. Can't imagine he's going high in the draft.
I don't think that's nice to 6-year seniors. This is Van Wilder.
I mean, it wasn't nice to Jack Golke because that's who I was thinking.
Hey, Jack Golke is an American hero.
Where's Jack Golke? Was Jack Golke going to be around for the Rockets pick? Yeah, he will.
Because he's going to be
He could-
selling insurance.
It'll be more likely he's at the
Hey,
draft party.
He could probably do your taxes next year, Paul.
He could play in Europe.
Can he?
Sure.
Yeah, he could play in Europe.
I'm sure he can.
I don't know about that.
There's a lot of countries in Europe.
That's a good point. That's a valid
Luxembourg,
counter-argument.
I'm sure they need
Yeah.
a couple of players.
There are lots of options.
And is it
Outside of the
Andorra?
country.
Is that the country
Yeah.
between France and Spain?
I hope he likes Croatia.
Oh, hey, don't no Croatia. That's a top tier. Come on now.
Basketball
top tier?
league?
I actually have no idea.
Yeah,
Soccer,
that's
sure.
We're talking about the basketball league, not sightseeing.